I have a terrific new series for you by an absolutely excellent author named Jennifer Nielsen. The False Prince is the first book in the Ascendance trilogy and contains plenty of action and political intrigue. The main character is a 15-year-old orphan boy named Sage who lives in the imaginary kingdom of Carthia. When the kingdom finds itself on the brink of civil war, a devious nobleman of the court attempts to unify Carthia by finding an impersonator for the king's long-lost son. This is a little bit Hunger Games and a little bit Goblet of Fire, as 4 orphans engage in a brutal competition to be the one who is chosen to play the part of the false prince and prevent the civil war. If you decide to start reading this series, be ready for lots and lots of plot twists. I have 5 brand new copies available, so come in and get yours today. This week I'm adding 2 brand new perfect picks to the collection, and the first one is called Fish in a Tree. In it, a girl named Allie has been smart enough to fool a lot of smart people. Every time she lands in a new school, she's able to hide the fact that she can't read by disrupting the class or coming up with other kinds of distractions. She's totally afraid to ask for help because she thinks she's just stupid and that there's no cure for stupid. However, everything changes when a new teacher comes into her life and she learns that there's a lot more to her and to everyone than just a label. I read this book a few weeks ago and really enjoyed it. I think if you're the kind of person who liked wonder, then you'll enjoy this book as well. Slated is the first book in a 3-book series set in a future time in England. 16-year-old Kyla's memory has been erased, her personality wiped blank, her memories lost forever. She's been, quote, slated because the government claims she was a terrorist, but they're giving her a second chance, as long as she plays by their rules, of course. However, little bits of her memories keep coming back to her, and she realizes that people are lying to her and nothing is what it seems to be. This is a very tense and sophisticated young adult dystopian novel. I read The List a few weeks ago and it was pretty interesting. It's set in a future time when mankind seems to have screwed up the entire planet, and the people in power have decided that the only way to prevent more wars and destruction is to limit people to just 500 words, officially called The List. Nobody is allowed to use any words that aren't on the list, except for the main character, a girl named Letta, who is an apprentice to the wordsmith, the only other person who is allowed to speak words that are off the list. The plot gets complicated when the wordsmith disappears and Letta must take his place, only to learn that the powers that be are trying to destroy all of human culture. This is a great read if you liked the City of Embers series. Okay, fans of wonder, I have the next book for you to read. No, it doesn't star Augie Pullman, but you love Jeremiah, a 12-year-old baseball fanatic who was abandoned as a baby, adopted by a single dad, and had to have a heart transplant when he was 10. Even though he can't play baseball, Jeremiah decides to coach his pathetic middle school team. Everything seems to be working out until the high school team gets caught in a scandal and the people in Jeremiah's town turn against baseball. It's up to Jeremiah, despite his frail health, to get the town and his team back in the game. Like I said, if you liked wonder, you will like this book. The Girl Who Drank the Moon is a fantasy about a young girl raised by a witch, a swamp monster, and a tiny dragon who must work together to unlock the magic inside her. This is an unconventional fairy tale that won the Newbery Medal for 2017, which means it was voted the best middle school book of the year. I hope that you're going to give this one a try. I want to send a very special shout out to 6th grader Melody McKnight, who donated her copy of this book, enabling us to have 3 copies available for you. Thanks, Melody. Gordon Corman keeps coming through with more books in the Swindle series, and Unleashed is one of the very few books with a dog on the cover that I can actually recommend to you. Luther, a former attack dog, is supposed to be on his best behavior now that he's in the care of Savannah, a girl who is easily a dog's best friend. But every time a certain truck passes by Savannah's house, Luther goes into attack mode and chaos follows. Meanwhile, Griffin Bing is locked in the fight of his life with his arch enemy, Darren Vader. Yes, that's right, his last name is Vader. Both are trying to win an invention contest and will stop at nothing to come out on top. Gordon Corman is one of our very favorite authors, and if you have not been reading the Swindle series, I suggest you take a look because these are some of the funniest and most creative books in the media center. I have another I Survived book to share with you this week. It features the supposedly unsinkable Titanic, a kid named George and his little sister Phoebe who are sailing on the doomed ship. It will come as no surprise to you that the Titanic sinks, and this book is about the harrowing experiences of George and his fellow passengers. It's another great installment in the I Survived series. I have to be honest with you, I usually don't like books by this author, but 3/4 Dead is completely different from anything else he's written. It's a mean girl novel about a 3-girl clique that adopts a girl named Carrie, who's basically just a wannabe. They get her to do a lot of their mean girl dirty work for them. But then 3 of the girls get killed in a car crash, leaving Carrie behind and maybe even a little bit relieved until she gets a text from one of the dead girls. They now want her to help them get revenge on the person who caused the accident that killed them. Hey, you just know this has to be a pretty juicy story. Don't miss out on 3/4 Dead. Wow, it seems like Amelia has lived it all, from surviving her parents' divorce, weathering the terror of Joe McCarthy Elementary School, and handling devastating crushes. What more could life possibly throw at her? Well, her Aunt Tanner disappears, embarrassed by an ex-boyfriend's tell-all book, and Amelia goes into full panic mode. When she gets on a bus to take an epic journey to find her aunt, with frenemy Rhonda along for the ride, and a little help from a certain boy she never thought she'd see again, it quickly becomes clear that if Amelia has learned anything in her 11 years, it's that life is never through with surprises. Find out what those surprises are in Amelia Rules, Her Permanent Record. Maze Runner fans, the Fever Code is here. We've labeled it Book 5 in the series because it is the 5th book that James Dashner has written, but technically it's the prequel to the Maze Runner series. The Fever Code is the story of Thomas and how he built the maze that only he could tear down. Since it's the story of how the maze was built and reveals many, many secrets, I would still recommend that you read The Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials, The Death Cure, and The Kill Order before you read The Fever Code, because there are going to be a lot of spoilers if you read this book first. If you've been keeping up with the series, though, I think you're really going to be into The Fever Code. You may not have noticed that we have some excellent graphic novels for Greek mythology fans. If you've enjoyed Percy Jackson and would like to get another helping of Greek myths, here are 3 great titles. The first one is Theseus and the Minotaur. As you may know, in ancient Greek mythology, the Minotaur was a half-human, half-bull brute. He lived hidden among dark and winding corridors called the Labyrinth. Our hero, Theseus, was sent to battle the terrifying monster. Will Theseus kill the Minotaur and make it out alive? Experienced readers will probably know by now that the hero usually succeeds, but the real fun is finding out how he does it. In ancient Greece, 2 empires went to war over the love of a beautiful woman named Helen of Troy. For 10 years, Greek and Trojan heroes met in deadly combat, but neither side could win. Finally, a powerful goddess dreamed up a clever plan to end the war. Whose side was she on? Who won the war? Read the graphic novel The Trojan Horse and find out. One of the greatest heroes of the Trojan War was named Odysseus, and unfortunately for him, after the 10-year war ended, he did some bragging and trash talking and really angered the gods. They sent violent storms and monsters to stop him from returning home. One of the monsters he faced on his journey home was the one-eyed giant Cyclops, who vowed to eat Odysseus and all of his men. Read the graphic novel Odysseus and the Cyclops to find out if he defeated this horrible monster and made it home at last. I've read this graphic novel twice, but I just don't think I can do justice at how fantastic it is. It's based on the author's webcomic, and it follows a nefarious plot by an impulsive young shapeshifter named Nimona and a vengeful villain called Lord Blackheart, who want to defame their kingdom's institution of law enforcement and heroics. Their mission is to prove to the kingdom that Sir Ambrosius Goldenloin and his buddies aren't the heroes everyone thinks they are. This is a must-read graphic novel. It's smart, funny, and definitely different. I think it would be perfect for fans of the Lumberjanes series. The Incredible Journey, our second new perfect pick this week, has not just one but two dogs on the cover. However, there's also a Siamese cat which works to balance out the heartbreak ahead. To be honest with you, this book has been around for a really long time and it's still amazing, so I decided to make it a perfect pick. It's about a Labrador retriever, a bull terrier, and a Siamese cat who set out through the Canadian wilderness on a 250-mile journey to reunite with their family. It's an amazing adventure as the three house pets face starvation, exposure to the elements, and wild animals in their efforts to make their way home. You may need a box of tissues to go with this book, but I do recommend it. It's one that you will never forget. When you're in the library, be sure to check out the beautiful pieces of color wheel art produced by Mrs. Young's art classes. Some of them are just gorgeous. And be sure to read the artist statements that people wrote to go with their art. Hey, and check this out. For the first time in living memory since I've been putting this board up, Raina Telgemeier is not dominating the first 4 places. Wonder is the 4th most popular book at Getty's Middle School, and I'm so glad to see that. If you haven't read the book yet, you need to get a copy. It's absolutely terrific. I got to see the movie over Thanksgiving break, and they did a wonderful job, but you still always have to read the book. The book is always better. So get out there and read Wonder.